I exposed my fiancée hiding our engagement and playing the office's favorite single girl. Now I disappeared and let her world collapse. My fiancée never bothered wearing her engagement ring to work. When I asked why, she rolled her eyes and snapped, "It clashes with my outfits." Then, almost as an afterthought, she added, "Besides, the guys at work are more generous when they think I'm available." I should have known then, but I let it slide, until one of her co-workers accidentally tagged me in a group photo captioned, "Office's favorite single girl." There she was, laughing in designer clothes I had paid for, surrounded by men, while hiding our engagement. I didn't say a word. 3 days later, I made one move that blew everything up. "Hey everyone, I, 37 male, met Amanda, 32 female, at a charity gala 3 years ago. I'm not what you'd call movie star handsome. Just average height, decent build from construction work in my 20s with a slightly receding hairline I've learned to embrace. But I've done well for myself in commercial real estate development. Started from nothing, worked 80-hour weeks through my 20s, and built a solid portfolio of properties across the Midwest. My dad was a construction worker who taught me the value of honest work before he passed away from heart disease when I was 24. I've never been one to flaunt my success. I still drive the same Toyota 4Runner I bought 5 years ago, live in a nice but modest house, and rarely splurge except on good coffee and my woodworking hobby. The gala was actually for an affordable housing initiative I'd helped fund. Not because I wanted recognition, but because I genuinely believe everyone deserves a safe place to live. I almost didn't go to the actual event. I hate wearing suits. But my business partner insisted I make an appearance since we donated a significant amount. Amanda was stunning, the kind of woman who turns heads when she walks in. Tall, perfectly styled blonde hair, wearing a red dress that probably cost more than my first car. She was working as a pharmaceutical sales rep when we met. All designer clothes and perfect makeup. She approached me at the bar. I was drinking club soda with lime, and she straight up asked if I was Greg Thompson from Thompson & Mills Development. When I said yes, she smiled in a way that, looking back, resembled a predator spotting its prey. "I've heard so much about your work," she said, touching my arm. "The mixed-use development on Riverside Drive is incredible." I was surprised and flattered that this gorgeous woman knew about my projects. What I didn't realize then was that she'd Googled the top donors for the event and memorized details about my business. Classic Amanda move: research your target before striking. Looking back, I should have seen the red flags from day one. She ordered the most expensive items on the menu during our first date, accidentally forgot her wallet on our second, and somehow managed to steer every conversation toward the vacation homes my business partners owned, or the watches they wore. "Must be nice having that kind of security," she'd sigh, looking wistful. My parents never taught me about investing or building wealth. But I was lonely after years of focusing on my career and losing my dad young, and the attention from a beautiful woman clouded my judgment. We moved in together after 8 months. She suggested it as financially responsible. I proposed after 2 years with a $22,000 ring I had saved for. Not the millions some celebrities spend, but it was quality. 1.8 carat diamond. Platinum band, custom design. It represented nearly 3 months of my income, and I was proud to give it to her. She cried when I proposed, told me she'd never expected to find such a good man, and for a while I believed we were happy. "You're everything I've been waiting for," she whispered the night I proposed. "I promise I'll make you so happy." Man, was that a lie. My fiancée never bothered wearing her engagement ring to work. When I asked why, she rolled her eyes and snapped, "It clashes with my outfits." Then besides, the guys at work are more generous when they think I'm available. I should have known then, but I let it slide, until one of her co-workers accidentally tagged me in a group photo captioned, "Office's favorite single girl." There she was, laughing in designer clothes I paid for, surrounded by men while hiding our engagement. I didn't say a word. 3 days later, I made one move that blew everything up. But let me back up and explain how I discovered the depth of her deception. I first noticed something was off when I surprised her at her office one day, bringing lunch from this upscale deli she always raved about, where a sandwich cost like $18, but whatever. I'd remembered her mentioning she had a stressful presentation that day, so I thought I'd do something nice. The receptionist pointed me to her office, which was already a surprise because Amanda had told me she worked in a cubicle like everyone else. Turns out she'd been promoted to regional sales manager 3 months earlier and never mentioned it. Another red flag I somehow missed. As I walked up to her glass-walled office, I saw her laughing with a tall guy in an expensive suit. When she spotted me, there was a split-second flash of annoyance before her face shifted into a smile. I noticed her bare ring finger as she typed on her keyboard. "Greg, what are you doing here?" Her tone wasn't exactly thrilled. "Brought you lunch," I said, holding up the bag. "Thought you could use a break with your big presentation today." The guy in the suit raised an eyebrow. "I didn't realize you had lunch plans, Amanda." "I didn't," she said quickly. "Greg's just being sweet." "Greg, this is Brad, our VP of Sales." Brad shook my hand firmly. "Nice to meet you. Amanda's never mentioned she's seeing someone." That's when I glanced at her left hand again. Completely bare. No ring, not even a tan line where it should be. "Where's your ring?" I asked casually once Brad had left. The question startled her. She glanced at her naked finger like she'd been caught shoplifting. "Oh, I never wear it to work, babe." "Since when?" "Since always," she said with this dismissive tone that made me feel stupid for asking. "I take it off before I leave every morning." I stood there, feeling like an idiot. We'd been engaged for 8 months, and somehow I'd never noticed this habit of hers. The $22,000 symbol of my commitment was apparently something she couldn't be bothered to wear around her colleagues. "You've never mentioned that before," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "It's not a big deal," she shrugged, unwrapping her sandwich without making eye contact. "Lots of women don't wear engagement rings to work." I nodded and changed the subject, but inside, something felt very wrong. On my way out, I noticed at least 3 other women in her office wearing wedding or engagement rings. One had a rock that made Amanda's look modest by comparison. Later that evening, I tried again. "Is there a reason why? Does it get in the way or something?" Amanda was sprawled on our couch scrolling through her phone while I made dinner. Despite making significantly more money than me, she'd never once offered to cook in our entire relationship. When I asked once, she'd laughed and said, "That's what DoorDash is for, babe." She sighed dramatically like I was some annoying child. "Look, Greg, it's just not professional, okay? Plus, my boss is super traditional. He treats engaged women differently. Less opportunities, you know." I nodded, but something felt off. Her pharmaceutical company was progressive as hell. They had pride flags everywhere and diversity posters all over the walls. They'd recently been featured in Business Insider for their family-friendly policies. "Brad seemed nice," I offered, testing the waters. "He didn't know you were seeing anyone." Amanda's eyes flashed with irritation. "I don't discuss my personal life at work. It's called being professional. Maybe you'd understand if you worked in corporate instead of construction." That stung. I'd never been just a construction worker. I had a business degree and had built a successful company. But Amanda always talked about my work like I was digging ditches for a living. Meanwhile, she acted like pharmaceutical sales was equivalent to curing cancer. "I just think it's weird that your VP of sales doesn't know you're engaged," I persisted. "Don't you guys do team-building stuff? Holiday parties?" "Jesus Christ," she snapped, throwing her phone down. "What is this? An interrogation?" "Yes. We do company events. No, I don't wear my ring to them because I'm trying to be taken seriously as a professional, not just someone's fiancé. Why is that so hard to understand?" That night, while she was microwaving the expensive pre-made meals I paid for, because God forbid she actually cooked something, I brought it up again. "I didn't realize your company was so old-fashioned about jewelry. Seems weird for 2023. She slammed the microwave door. "Are you still on about the ring? Lots of women don't wear engagement rings to work. It changes how men treat you. They're less likely to flirt, less likely to pick up the tab at client lunches." Then she muttered under her breath, "Less likely to buy you drinks after work." "What was that last part?" I asked. "Nothing," she snapped. "God, why are you so insecure? Do I need to document every piece of jewelry I wear now? Should I send you hourly updates on my accessories?" I backed off, feeling like I was the unreasonable one. Classic Amanda move. Turn it around so somehow I'm the asshole. The next morning, I decided to pay attention. Sure enough, right before leaving for work, Amanda slipped her engagement ring off while standing at the hallway mirror. The move was so practiced, so casual, I realized she must do it every day. She dropped it into a small pocket in her designer purse, checked her reflection one more time, and headed for the door. "Have a great day, hon," she called over her shoulder. "Don't forget we need to send that $5,000 deposit for the wedding venue today." The door closed behind her, and I stood there frozen. How many other things had I missed? 2 weeks later, I was scrolling through Instagram during my lunch break when a notification popped up. Someone named Brad had tagged me in a comment. I didn't know any Brad personally, so I checked it out, wondering if it was spam. It was Amanda's VP of sales, the guy I'd met at her office. He'd tagged me on a group photo from what looked like a bar or restaurant. There was Amanda, center of attention in a tight dress that cost me $890, which she'd claimed was necessary for client meetings, cocktail in hand, surrounded by men in suits. Her left hand clearly visible, no ring in sight. The caption read, "Thursday night team building, office's favorite single girl living it up, work fam, thirsty Thursday single girl." The words hit me like a freight train. Brad had commented, "Who's the lucky guy taking Amanda Lux home tonight?" And then tagged me with, "Sorry, Greg developer didn't realize she was spoken for." I checked the timestamp. This was from last night, when Amanda had texted saying she was working late on a presentation and came home at 11:30 smelling like expensive perfume and claiming she was too tired to talk. I zoomed in on her left hand wrapped around the cocktail glass. No ring, obviously. But it wasn't just the absence of the ring that gutted me. It was the hashtag, the comments from male co-workers, looking as always, single and ready to mingle. Brad better watch out, or he'll lose his best rep to the marriage track. Amanda had responded to that last one with, "Not a chance. Career comes first." I took screenshots of everything, then closed the app and sat at my desk for a long time trying to process what I'd just seen. This wasn't just about professional image. This was about living a double life. That night, when she came home, the ring was right back on her finger. She kissed me hello, asked about my day, acted like everything was normal. She even initiated intimacy for the first time in months, which I now realize was probably guilt-driven. I said nothing about the post. Instead, I watched her the next morning. Sure enough, right before leaving, she slipped the ring off when she thought I wasn't looking and dropped it into the side pocket of her purse. "Have a great day, babe," she called out cheerfully. "Don't forget, we need to send that $5,000 deposit for the wedding venue today." I sat at our kitchen counter for a long time after she left. We'd been together 3 years, lived together for almost 2. I'd been paying 80% of our expenses despite her 6-figure pharma sales job because she always had some excuse about student loans or needing to invest in her appearance for work. Meanwhile, my 401k contributions had been cut in half since we moved in together to accommodate our shared expenses. I thought I knew her. Now I wondered what else I'd been blind to. That afternoon, I called my buddy Ryan, who works in pharmaceutical sales at a competing company. Without mentioning Amanda by name, I described the situation. "Dude, that's shady as fuck," Ryan said bluntly. "Nobody in pharma sales is hiding rings for professionalism. Half the reps I know are married women who wear rocks bigger than yours. They actually help with older male doctors, establishes boundaries." "That's what I thought," I replied. "What about this men treat you differently thing?" Ryan hesitated. "Look, man, I don't want to put ideas in your head, but in our industry, some reps use their availability status to get better access to doctors. Nothing explicit, just flirting, attention, maybe drinks. It's gross, but it happens." "And does it work?" I asked, feeling sick. "Unfortunately, yeah. There are dinosaurs out there who are more likely to prescribe if they think they've got a shot with their sales rep. Industry's trying to clean that up, but..." I thanked him and hung up, feeling worse than before. That evening, I took a hard look at our finances. I'd always paid the majority of our bills because Amanda claimed her student loans were crushing her. But when I calculated what she should have left over each month given her salary, which I knew because she'd left a pay stub out once, something didn't add up. Either she had secret expenses, or she was squirreling away money. While Amanda was taking one of her hour-long baths, with the $95 bath products I paid for, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone. In 3 years, I'd never once violated her privacy, but the ring thing had cracked the foundation of my trust. What I found destroyed the rest. A separate Instagram account I didn't know about with suggestive photos and hundreds of comments from men. A Tinder profile active as recently as 3 days ago. Text conversations with multiple men, including Brad from the office and several doctors she called on, that made it crystal clear she wasn't just presenting as single. In one exchange with Brad, what about the boyfriend? Thought you were engaged? Amanda, Greg's clueless. He's just my safety net until something better comes along. Pays the bills while I have my fun. Another text to a doctor. Wilson, can't wait to see you this weekend. We'll tell Greg I'm at a work conference, usual hotel. And then I found the financial evidence. A secret checking account at a different bank with over $32,000 in it. Money that could have gone toward our shared expenses but had been hidden away while I drained my savings to cover our lifestyle. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely take screenshots, but I managed to document everything, emailed it all to myself, then put her phone back exactly where I found it. When she came out smelling like expensive French perfume, I somehow managed to act normal. "Want to watch a movie?" she asked, curling up next to me on the couch like nothing was wrong. "Sure," I replied, wondering how I could ever have been so blind. "You pick." For the next 2 days, I lived in a state of cold calculation. I didn't yell. I didn't confront her. Every evening she'd walk in, ring back on finger, kiss me hello, ask for money for some wedding expense or another, and I'd pretend everything was fine, all while planning my exit. I spent my lunch breaks consulting with a lawyer friend about my options. Since we weren't married yet, things were simpler, but I wanted to protect myself. We lived in a rental with both our names on the lease. We had a joint checking account, though most finances were still separate. And then there was the wedding fund. "You're absolutely sure about this?" my lawyer friend asked after I showed him some of the screenshots. "Because once you pull the trigger, there's no going back." "I've never been more sure of anything," I replied. He nodded grimly. "Then protect yourself first. Document everything, secure your assets, and be prepared for her to play dirty." I made a detailed plan, scheduling everything down to the hour. On Wednesday, Amanda would be at an all-day sales meeting, giving me plenty of time. I took the day off work but pretended to leave at my usual time. Once she was gone, I sprang into action. First, I gathered all my important documents: birth certificate, social security card, property deeds, business documents, and secured them in a safety deposit box at my bank. Next, I packed my essential belongings and loaded them into my truck. Clothes, personal items, the woodworking tools that had been my dad's. I left the furniture. Most of it Amanda had selected anyway, and I didn't want any of it. Then I went to our joint checking account and withdrew exactly 50% of the balance. Not a penny more, though I'd contributed far more than half. I didn't want her to be able to claim I'd stolen from her. But the centerpiece of my plan involved a wedding fund. I'd been saving for our wedding separately, a dedicated account with $58,000 in it for the venue, catering, honeymoon, all of it. Amanda knew about the account but didn't have access. What she didn't know was that last month I'd added her as a beneficiary as a surprise. I'd planned to tell her that weekend, so she could start making deposits directly. I closed the account completely and transferred every penny into a new private account she couldn't touch. Then I drove to my buddy Mike's lake house an hour outside the city. He'd agreed to let me stay until I figured things out. "You can stay as long as you need," Mike said, helping me unload my truck. "I always thought she was using you, man. I'm sorry." Then I made one more call. To our landlord. I explained I was moving out, but would cover my portion of the rent for the next 3 months, as per our lease agreement. However, I wanted my name removed from the lease immediately, meaning Amanda would need to requalify for the apartment on her income alone after that. "Usually we don't do that," the landlord said. "But given the circumstances, I'll make an exception." I'd helped him with a zoning issue for one of his other properties last year, and he owed me a favor. With everything in place, I settled in at Mike's and waited. At 2:43 p.m., right on schedule, the text started. "Greg, what the fuck? The venue just called saying our payment bounced. The bank says the wedding account is closed. Call me right fucking now." I didn't respond. Just watched the notifications pile up. By evening, over 30 missed calls, and her tone had shifted. "Baby, please talk to me. I don't understand what's happening. Whatever you think is going on, I can explain. Just call me back. I love you so much. Please don't do this to us." The next day, she must have gone home during lunch and discovered some of my things missing. That's when the panic really set in. "You moved out without even talking to me. What kind of coward does that? You can't throw away everything we built over some misunderstanding. I'm literally shaking right now. Please call me back." Still, I said nothing. Just documented everything. Then came the message that confirmed she knew exactly what she'd done. "Fuck. Did someone show you something? Was it Brad's stupid post? I can explain about the ring thing. It's not what you think. The guys at work are just idiots. Please let me explain." I forwarded some of her more unhinged messages to my lawyer friend, who advised me to continue radio silence. "She's giving you plenty of ammunition," he texted. "Let her dig her own grave." So I did. After 3 days of her increasingly desperate messages, I finally responded. Not with words, but with evidence. I sent her exactly 5 items. 1. The screenshot of Brad's Instagram post with the single girl hashtag. 2. Screenshots of her secret Instagram account where she presented herself as unattached. 3. Her active Tinder profile that described her as a single professional looking for fun. 4. Her text with Brad about me being her clueless safety net. 5. Her texts with Dr. Wilson planning their hotel rendezvous. No commentary, no angry message, just the cold, hard proof of her betrayal. Her response was nuclear. In the span of 10 minutes, I received 18 calls, 37 text messages, and 4 emails. The texts ranged from, "This isn't what it looks like," to, "I made a mistake but I love you. Please just talk to me," to, "You're really going to throw away 3 years over some harmless flirting? You're pathetic." When I didn't respond, she escalated. She showed up at my office. They wouldn't let her in. She called my sister, who hung up on her. She even tried to contact my business partner, who told her politely but firmly to go to hell. When she couldn't find me, she started calling everyone we knew. My friends, family, even business associates, crying hysterically, begging people to tell her where I was. Nobody did. Because nobody knew except Mike, my best friend since we were 10, who would rather walk barefoot on broken glass than betray me. Then, things got really interesting. 3 days into her meltdown, her texts took on a desperate edge. The landlord says I need to requalify for the apartment by myself and my credit score isn't high enough. I have 90 days to find somewhere else to live. How could you do this to me? My credit cards are all maxed out. I was counting on the wedding fund for my car payment this month. Please, Greg, I'm begging you. Brad just told me they're putting me on probation at work. Someone sent screenshots of my text to our district manager. Was that you? How could you try to destroy my career? My parents won't even take my calls. What did you tell them? For the record, I never sent anything to her workplace or her parents. Didn't need to. Brad panicked when he realized I had their texts and went to HR himself, trying to get ahead of any potential sexual harassment claim. As for her parents, they figured it out when she called them crying about me stealing her wedding fund. Her father, a straight-shooting contractor I'd always respected, called me directly. "Greg, it's John Walsh," he said when I answered. "I think we need to talk about Amanda." I braced myself for anger, but instead I heard a tired sigh. "I saw the texts," he said. "Amanda's mother insisted she show us what was going on. I wish I could say I'm surprised." "I'm sorry, John," I replied, not knowing what else to say. "Don't be. She's been pulling stunts like this since high school. First guy with a decent paycheck she couldn't manipulate. Maybe this time she'll learn." I gained more respect for him in that moment than in our entire relationship. Meanwhile, Amanda's carefully constructed house of cards collapsed completely. The truth about her behavior spread through her professional network. 3 different men discovered they were being played simultaneously. Dr. Wilson was married with kids. His wife found out about their conferences. Her credit card debt, which I discovered was over $30,000 despite me paying most living expenses, caught up with her now that she no longer had my income to mask her overspending. A week after I left, Amanda's desperation reached new heights. She posted a lengthy Facebook screed accusing me of financial abuse and abandonment. Several mutual friends texted me screenshots, concerned. I simply shared some of the evidence with them privately. One by one, her support system crumbled as people saw who she really was. A week later, I finally answered one of her calls, not out of weakness or forgiveness, but to put a period at the end of this chapter. "What do you want, Amanda?" She was sobbing. "Please, Greg. I'm desperate. I'm about to be evicted. My cards are all maxed. They put me on leave at work. I've got nobody else to turn to." "You had me," I said quietly. "A man who loved you enough to buy you a ring you kept hidden, pay your bills while you cheated, and save for a wedding you were using as an ATM. Those were your choices, not mine." "I made a horrible mistake," she wailed. "I was stupid and selfish, but I really do love you. We can start over. Go to counseling, whatever you want. There's no we anymore, Amanda. You're just experiencing the consequences of your actions for once in your life." "Please," she begged, her voice cracking. "Just help me with rent this month. I'll pay you back, I swear. You know I'm good for it." I almost laughed. "Good for it? You've been taking advantage of me for years. Figure it out yourself. I'm sure one of your doctor friends can help you out." "They won't return my calls," she said, her voice suddenly small. "Nobody will." "That sounds like a personal problem," I replied, channeling her own dismissive tone from when I'd asked about the ring. "Maybe try being honest for once." I hung up and blocked her number. Then I turned off my phone and went fishing on Mike's Lake, feeling like I could finally breathe again. It's been 2 months now. I bought a new place. A fixer-upper I'm renovating myself, just like my dad taught me. Every swing of the hammer feels like therapy, rebuilding my life on my terms. I've reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my relationship with Amanda. Turns out she had gradually isolated me from several people who weren't good for us. In retrospect, probably because they saw through her facade. Amanda had to move back in with her parents at 32. Her career is in shambles after the truth about her sales techniques with doctors came to light. Her father called me last week to say she's finally seeing a therapist for her narcissistic tendencies and materialistic behavior. "Too little, too late," John said wearily. "She's burned every bridge she had. Maybe hitting rock bottom will finally teach her the lesson her mother and I failed to." The ring? I sold it for about 60% of what I paid and used the money to take a 2-week fishing trip to Alaska I'd always dreamed of, but Amanda had called boring and pointless. Standing in an icy river at sunrise, catching my first salmon, I felt a peace I hadn't experienced in years. I've started dating again recently. Nothing serious, just coffee with a kindergarten teacher my sister introduced me to. She showed up in jeans, ordered a regular coffee instead of some $9 specialty drink, and actually asked questions about me instead of my income. When she mentioned she loves camping, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, genuine compatibility rather than superficial attraction. Some days I still struggle with how I could have been so blind for so long. My therapist, yes, I started seeing one, says this is normal. Manipulative people excel at making you doubt your own perceptions, she explained. They isolate you gradually, like a slow-boiling pot. Last week, I ran into Brad at a networking event. He looked uncomfortable when he saw me. "I owe you an apology," he said after an awkward handshake. "I should have told you what was going on." "Would you have wanted to know if it was your fiancée?" I asked. He considered it, then shook his head. "Honestly, no. But I still should have done the right thing." I just nodded. "Water under the bridge now." "For what it's worth," he added as he was leaving, "she's not welcome back at the company. That behavior violated every ethics policy we have. The worst part of betrayal isn't the lies they tell you, it's the truth they reveal about themselves. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't some elaborate scheme. It's simply walking away and letting someone drown in the consequences of their own actions." Update: 1 month later. Amanda is still trying to contact me. Her latest attempt was creating a fake Instagram account, pretending to be an old college friend. I figured it out when Dave started asking weirdly specific questions about my new place and whether I was still holding a grudge against Amanda. Real subtle. The most surprising development: Amanda's mom reached out to me last week. Apparently, they've had to freeze Amanda's credit because she tried to take out loans in her parents' names. She's been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder and is in intensive therapy, her mom said tearfully, but still blames everyone but herself. "We failed her as parents. We never set boundaries or consequences. This is the result." I felt bad for her parents. Decent people caught in their daughter's tornado of destruction. But as my therapist reminds me, their enabling helped create this situation as much as Amanda's choices did. As for me, the renovation on my house is coming along great. I've finished the kitchen and master bedroom, with plans to tackle the bathrooms next month. There's something incredibly satisfying about tearing down damaged structures and building something solid and true in their place. I've had 3 more coffee dates with Sarah, the kindergarten teacher. Last weekend we went hiking and had a picnic. Something Amanda would have complained about for days: bugs, dirt, where's the closest 5-star hotel? Sarah brought homemade sandwiches and seemed genuinely interested in my woodworking projects. It's still very early, but it's nice to be with someone who values experiences over possessions. The most healing part has been reconnecting with myself. I've rediscovered hobbies I'd abandoned, rebuilt friendships I'd neglected, and remembered what it feels like to make decisions without calculating someone else's reaction. Freedom tastes sweeter than I remembered. Last night I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was Dr. Wilson's wife, Karen. Somehow she'd gotten my contact info and wanted to meet for coffee. Curious, and a bit apprehensive, I agreed. She thanked me for meeting her and got straight to the point. I wanted to personally thank you for inadvertently exposing my husband's activities, she said, voice steady despite the pain in her eyes. Those screenshots you sent Amanda made their way to me through one of his colleagues. You gave me the evidence I needed after years of suspicion. She's filing for divorce after finding evidence of at least 4 other affairs, all with pharmaceutical reps like Amanda. The practice has placed him on leave pending investigation. I've been with James for 20 years, she said, stirring her untouched coffee. We have 3 teenagers. I built my entire life around supporting his career, and all this time. She trailed off, then straightened her shoulders. Anyway, I'm starting over at 45. It's terrifying, but also strangely liberating. I knew exactly what she meant. As we were leaving, she paused. It takes courage to walk away. And even more to start over, she said. Don't look back. Neither of us should. A month after meeting Karen, I received an email from Brad. He'd taken a job at a different company and wanted me to know Amanda's behavior had sparked a major ethics review at their former workplace. They've implemented new guidelines and mandatory training on professional boundaries. Your ex was just the tip of the iceberg, he wrote. Once we started digging, we found at least a dozen similar cases. Some went back years. The company is cleaning house before it turns into a PR nightmare, or worse, a class action lawsuit. I felt a strange satisfaction knowing something positive might come from this mess. Meanwhile, my own business is thriving. The time and energy I'd poured into appeasing Amanda is now going back into my work. I've secured 2 major development contracts and am exploring a partnership with an affordable housing nonprofit, the same cause where I met Amanda all those years ago. Sarah and I are still seeing each other casually. Unlike Amanda, she never pressures me for expensive gifts or fancy dinners. She's content with hiking, cooking together, quiet evenings playing board games. After the constant performance of my relationship with Amanda, Sarah's authenticity is like breathing fresh air. One evening on my partially finished deck watching the sunset, Sarah asked about Amanda. I'd been vague before, just saying we broke up over fundamental differences. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, she said gently, but sometimes talking about it helps. So, I told her everything. When I finished, I half expected judgment for ghosting Amanda, withdrawing the wedding fund, checking her phone. Instead, she listened quietly, her hands steady in mine. You're not asking if I think you did the right thing, she observed. No, I realized. I know I did. She nodded. Good. Because you did what you needed to do to protect yourself. No one should apologize for that. It was exactly what I needed to hear.